Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the parish office kitchen. I'm greeting you again from here. It's a nice place to be. Italians like the kitchen for several reasons, but it's a place where all decisions are made in the Italian household, and it's a nice place to be. Hey, surrounded by love and food, right? So I just want to continue our talks on holy orders. You know, the threefold: the deacon, the priest, and the bishop. I had a wonderful time explaining to you yesterday about part two of the diaconate talk, and that is the nitty-gritty information that a deacon candidate and a future seminarian would need in order to apply to the seminary. So let's just talk about the call. I think we need to address that. The call a man feels in his heart and soul that God is inviting him to be a permanent deacon, or this young man to be a seminarian and discern for the priesthood. And of course, isn't that beautiful? You don't choose to be a bishop, you're chosen. So I don't want to say about the discernment of being a bishop, but you have to be at least open as a priest. If God is inviting you to be a bishop, would you not be afraid and take that responsibility? So we're leaving the diaconate right now and the beautiful vocation of a permanent deacon. Again, I just want to say thank you to all of our permanent deacons. They work very hard, everyone. And there's a lot of things that I guess you guys don't see that they do. I mean, prepare homilies, baptize, witness weddings, right? Prepare couples for weddings. There's usually they take on a ministry like St. Vincent de Paul or RCIA. So Deacon Don, with his lovely wife Linda, coordinate the RCIA for us at St. Mary Parish. Isn't that beautiful? And he witnesses the marriages that take place when those people who are in RCIA are entering into a valid union of matrimony. So he convalidates their wedding. And we'll talk about that later. Don't want to give you too many information pieces about the life of the church, the life of Christ, and the gospel message. But I just wanted to give it to you in piecemeal. So now the young man we talked about yesterday, right? Entering the seminary, this call they feel. So, you know, many people like yourselves can say to a young man, have you ever considered being a priest? Maybe God is inspiring you to go up to somebody and say, hey, Joey, hey, Michael, hey, Mark, have you ever considered being a priest? And now this young man may think about it, but you validate it. Like, my gosh, I was thinking about that, and I thought, if someone asked me, then I know it's from God. Because it's like, wow, I can't believe that someone is saying to me, have you ever thought of becoming a priest? So there's a lot of people and situations that are part of the discernment process. Don't you think that? So here's a young man in grade school, high school, or even college that is, God is tugging their heart. But a lot of these young men, I could tell you right now, are afraid. Afraid of the unknown. Afraid because they feel unworthy. Not me. Like, I can't believe that I'm feeling this. Is God really calling me to the priesthood? That's why he and all people need the community to pray. How often do we say, please pray for vocations? Well, it's a serious thing. Pray to the Lord of the harvest that the master will send more laborers into his vineyard. Now that's a direct statement from Christ. Pray. Pray for vocations. Do you want more priests in the church? I do. Do you want more sisters? I mean, they're scarce today, right? When was the last time you saw a nun? Do you want more brothers? I was taught by brothers. I went to West Catholic, remember? So the Christian brothers from LaSalle, they taught me at West Catholic. We need more religious brothers and religious priests. So pray for vocation. And we need diocesan priests. I'm a diocesan priest. So we need vocations to the priesthood and consecrated life to flood the church once again. People are afraid to take that leap. But we have to remember one thing, and so does the young man or the young woman. They have to remember that they're going into the seminary or convent to discern. It's no shame to leave. Then you found out, oh, I was not meant to be a priest. I was not meant to be a sister. Thank God I went into the seminary or convent during that period of discernment to find out if God was really calling me to the priesthood or the religious life. Because if I did, how would I really know that? That the church would tell me directly. And the church will tell you. Because once you enter the seminary or convent, you have what is called a formator. Have you ever heard of that word? A formator. And that is a person who is already a full-fledged sister, final vows and everything, and many years into religious life, to walk with the sister or the young girl who is discerning whether or not this is really what God is. There has to be someone who will help her understand and hear. You know, that trained ear to see if God is really calling you to the religious life. Same way with the seminarian. He needs a formator. And you're assigned a formator when you enter the seminary. Did you know that? You're assigned a formator. So we have priests at the seminary who are formators, and they're part of the formation team. And they help, and they meet, and they pray with their assigned seminarian. Help them along the path. Isn't that beautiful? That's all taken care of. The amount of work that our seminary does to prepare these men for the priesthood, unbelievable. Unbelievable. The amount of time, energy, care, and love they give the seminarian. Plus, a full-blown faculty. And you know, the faculty at a seminary has brains to sell because they have to know their stuff. I mean, so all of that, them, plus the entire liturgical life of the church being expressed, because you're at a seminary. So the seminarian has to be exposed to the full expression of the liturgical life of the church. And they are. And then they come here in parishes on Thursdays to get a practical experience. Did you know that? Seminarians are assigned a parish or an institution within the archdiocese, a high school, a soup kitchen, a parish, a hospital, a nursing home, where they're immersed into the life of the church. And who's the church? The people. And they have practical experience. See, they go to school all week, but on Thursdays, they come to a place to have practical training. So I'm part of the formators in one sense. In other words, I'm what they call a supervisor. So they come here on Thursday, and I'll tell you, we do have seminarians that come here on Thursdays during the course of the school year, so that they're part of what is known as pastoral formation. In other words, what is the life of a priest, Father? Can you show us the day-to-day life of a priest? And then can you immerse us into some of those situations so that we can learn hands-on what is the day-to-day life of a priest, so that we're ready when our studies are done, we have practical experience, and that we could talk to you as a formator about what our fears and anxieties are, or our questions. You know, what do you do in that case, Father? Father, what happens in this case when that arises? What do you do? So it's something that is needed and necessary, as you could well know. I mean, you could study theology until the cows come home, but if you don't have the practicality of how to live your life as a priest and how to work with people and how to bring people to God and God to people, then you're missing a major portion of your formation. So the work of Thursday apostolate is called because it comes from the word apostle, one being sent. So apostolate. So the apostolate on Thursday, that experience is very good for the seminarian. So let's go back. We go back to this young man who maybe is in high school, grade school, high school, and it's right back here. I want you to be a priest. I want you to be a priest. I think you would be a good priest. So he keeps on hearing God tug at him. He's involved maybe as an altar server at the parish. Maybe he's involved as a sacristan in the parish. Maybe he is one of those young men that helps the parish staff with different things in the parish. Maybe scout projects, cuts the lawn, or just is around the parish. You know, if you have an interest, you gravitate to that place. Like if you have an interest in sports, you're at the stadiums, you're at the link, you're watching the stats and all that, and you know all the players. If you have an interest in medicine, you're always reading upon that and you're going to places. If you have an interest in bringing the gospel of Jesus Christ to people, you gravitate toward the hub, and the hub is a parish. So it's a beautiful thing, and you'll see people, and you might want to say to somebody, have you ever thought of being a priest? That's another kind of tug that they may get. They already hear God, because God is the one who invites. We have to join in that invitation. It's just like when you get invited to somebody, hey, you coming to my baby shower? Are you coming to my birthday party? And then, okay, so that's the primary host. We call that God when it comes to the vocation, the call. God is the one who sends the invitation. I want you to be a priest. Now, all of us, we're the ones who say, are you going to the party? Are you going to the party? Are you going to the party? And then you're like, I wasn't, but yeah, I think I want to go. The same idea. God invites. We just say, are you going to go to the seminary? Are you going to go? Yeah, I don't know. I was, but now after the fifth person says it, they're like, yeah, I guess it's okay. I could go. Because then they feel comfortable going. It's just like a party. I'm telling you. Some people feel like, I don't know if I want to go. I don't know anybody. The fear, the anxiety, the nervousness. Hello. The same thing with the young man going into the seminary. He needs validation from the community of believers, from the church community, his parish family. We're the people to love him, to care for him, to pray for his perseverance, if it is God's will. Yes, I think you'll make a wonderful priest. Why don't you apply to the seminary? So after that kind of discernment, then he begins the paperwork necessary. It's not like just, hello, I want to be a priest. It's that, but it takes a little bit more than that. The maturity of like saying, okay, if you do feel that God is calling you to this way of life, why don't you prepare by getting this ready, this ready, this ready, this ready. Remember we talked about all those things yesterday? It's very important. Your transcripts, your letters of recommendation, the psychological report, your safe environment, and background checks. All of that. And then you meet with the admissions board. And the admissions board will ask you several questions. And you'll have a conversation. And taking everything what you have given them and your interview, because sometimes people don't interview well. Did you ever go to a job interview you're like, it didn't go well. But you had everything else impact. And we know that. Hey, listen, I'm a priest and I'm also a pastor. So I hire people. So I know that sometimes interviews, people get nervous. They don't do well. But they are good people and they got everything together. And sometimes people will say to me, Father, at the end of the conversation, Father, I think I bombed. I think I bombed that interview. I said, well, because I was nervous. And of course, I could tell they were nervous. And I try to like relax them, throw in a joke or two, just to calm them down. Because if you're all so serious, then they're like, ah. But you have to just calm them down. The admissions board, you know, it's kind of nervous because you see these priests and monsignors and lay people, and they're asking you some serious questions about, you know, how do you know? What do you feel? Why do you want to? All those things. Have you dated? That's an important question because it's like, how do you know what you're going to give up? So you have to have the experience of, like, they would say, did you go to your prom? Like, you know, did you have fun with people your own age? You know, how do you know you're not called to the married life? So, I mean, those kind of things, you know, good, moral, proper relationships, right? Gospel valued relationships that you experienced. And, that you can't be, like I said yesterday, you can't be like, oh no, I don't date, I don't go near girls, I don't do any of that. Okay, why? Like, what's wrong? You have to tell us, because we have to know now. So all that kind of stuff. But it needs to be a healthy young man. A healthy man body, mind, a healthy mind, and a healthy soul. So we're not talking about perfect. No, we're not talking about that. God molds and shapes us. Like, hey, listen, I'm different from when I first entered the seminary. I remember that interview. I remember my psychologicals. I remember going into that meeting, coming out of that meeting. I remember all of that. We're different people now because we grow mature. Just like when you first started dating your husband, your wife. You're different now, right? The experience, the wealth of experience, the knowledge. Wow, how much you have gained from that. So anyway, after that is over, they will inform him whether he's accepted or not. They also now, which they did not do on my day, I don't know if you know this, they do make a home visit. They want to know what the home life is about. Is he running away from something? See how much now the formators, because of past experiences, and plus remember all the mess we went through with the church? Like, they want to make sure that the candidate entering the seminary is healthy in body, mind, and soul. And a lot has to do with that environment where he's being raised. So they make a home visit. And I think that is excellent. They do it in a friendly way, non-officious, try to be as comfortable as possible. Because I guess for them, it might be a little nerve-wracking. But hey, listen, I've been in situations where you think they're nervous. They're like having a sandwich while they're talking to you in shorts and flip-flops. So, I mean, like, you know, don't think that every situation is like, oh, yes, Father, no, Father. You know, everyone's different, what I'm trying to say. So after all that is done, and then a decision is made, the Archbishop will have to give his approval whether he accepts the personnel or admissions board's recommendation, because the Archbishop ultimately has the say. They recommend to the Archbishop for these reasons. It's like a parish. My staff recommends things from each of their departments to me. And then it's my decision that I have to make an ultimate decision, right? So anyway, that happens, and the young man is called, and said, we would be happy to accept you as a seminarian come this September. Well, wonderful. So, the pastor of the parish is involved. He's notified. The relationship of a pastor and that young seminarian and the parish, that's a proud moment. We have 2 seminarians at St. Mary's in historic Schweinsville. 2. We have Patrick Thorpe studying for the diocesan priesthood. Patrick Thorpe at our seminary, St. Charles Borromeo. And we have Sam Roberts studying to be a Capuchin Franciscan. Religious life. Remember, I told you there are diocesan priests and religious ordered priests, right? You know that. Well, Patrick is studying to be a diocesan priest. Discerning, studying. Sam Roberts is studying / discerning to be a Capuchin Franciscan priest, all from St. Mary's Parish in Schwenksville. Isn't that beautiful? So I can't wait till a young girl comes to me and says, Father, I want to enter religious life. Or another man says, I want to be a brother. I mean, that's great. That's great. We just have to be supporters of vocations. Don't think that we're all going to be here unless you and I pray to the Lord of the harvest, like Jesus said. So after that, after I speak to the young man, and then my job with him, walking with him in the parish, introducing him to the parishioners, seeing him, of course, work around here, maybe at Christmas and Easter at Mass, being master of ceremonies for the big liturgies, or torchbearer for processions, or even helping at Vacation Bible Camp, if he's able to. All those things, he should help us because he's learning. That's all part of the formation. So formation is not just studying church history, studying scripture, studying dogma, the moral life of the church, studying medical ethics, studying canon law. It's also the practical. You know, a doctor needs to get into that hospital and see people and start working. I mean, there has to be a break from studying about it and actually doing it. Same with the seminarian, don't you think? Absolutely. So then he goes into the seminary, and then tomorrow we're going to talk to you about what do they actually do there. Okay, that's enough info now. I just wanted to wrap it around, show you, put that in a nice package, and then let's go through the front doors of the seminary with this new seminarian, virtually that is, and we'll explain to you what happens in the day of a life of a seminarian. Have a nice day, everybody.